Elena Vasquez walked through the massive corridors of the Galactic Council building. The walls were made of strange crystal that glowed with soft blue light. She had practiced this walk 1,000 times, but her heart still beat fast. This was the most important day in human history. Behind her walked 2 other humans, Dr. Marcus Webb, the science advisor, and Captain Lisa Chen, her military escort. They had traveled for 6 months to reach this place. 6 months to cross the galaxy and arrive at Nexus Prime, the center of galactic civilization. The aliens they passed in the hallways were incredible. Some looked like giant insects with shiny black shells. Others were balls of pure light that floated in the air. A few looked like walking rocks, each one as tall as a building. Elena tried not to stare, but it was hard not to be amazed. "Remember," Dr. Webb whispered, "we need to show them we're peaceful. Everything depends on this meeting." Elena nodded. Earth had waited 50 years for this chance. 50 years since the first alien ship had appeared in Earth's sky. 50 years of learning alien languages, studying their culture, and preparing for this moment. The council chamber was enormous. It looked like a giant dome made of the same glowing crystal. Thousands of aliens sat in circles around a central platform. Elena could hear clicking sounds, musical tones, and strange whispers in her translator device. At the front sat the most powerful aliens in the galaxy. The hegemony, they called themselves. Elena knew their names from years of study. The Vorthak looked like giant ants with too many arms. Their leader, Zakth, clicked his mandibles as he watched the humans enter. The Luminari were beings of pure energy, beautiful but cold. Their representative glowed brighter than the others. The Petra were living stones, ancient and massive. When they moved, the floor shook. "Welcome, humans," said a voice that came from everywhere at once. Elena's translator worked hard to change the alien words into English. "You may speak." Elena stepped forward onto the platform. All around her, thousands of alien eyes watched. Some were friendly, but many looked angry or disgusted. She had practiced her speech so many times that she knew every word by heart. "Great beings of the galaxy," she began. "I am Ambassador Elena Vasquez, speaking for all humans on Earth. We come to you today asking to join your great civilization." She gestured to the holographic display behind her. Images of Earth appeared. Beautiful cities, green forests, blue oceans. Then came pictures of human achievements, hospitals, schools, art, music, and scientific discoveries. Humans are a young species, but we have much to offer. We have created medicines that can heal many diseases. We have art and music that speaks to the heart. We have scientific minds that ask new questions and find new answers. Some of the younger alien species leaned forward with interest. Elena could see hope in their expressions. But the hegemony remained cold and silent. "We offer friendship," Elena continued. "We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share what we have learned. We want to explore the galaxy together and build a better future for all species." Dr. Webb stepped forward with a data pad. "We have prepared detailed proposals for technology sharing, trade agreements, and cultural exchange programs. We believe humans can contribute to galactic science, especially in medical research and environmental restoration." The chamber buzzed with conversation. Elena could hear the aliens discussing in their own languages. Some sounded excited, but others sounded worried or angry. Then Zakth of the Vorthak stood up. His voice was like grinding metal. "The hegemony has considered your request, humans. We have watched your species for 50 years. We have seen your wars, your violence, your destruction of your own planet." Elena's heart sank, but she kept her expression calm. "You are a contamination," Zakth continued. "A disease that would spread through our peaceful galaxy. You fight each other over resources. You destroy your environment for profit. You create weapons designed only to kill." The Luminari representative spoke next, its voice like singing crystals. "Your aggressive nature is incompatible with galactic civilization. You would bring chaos and violence to our ordered society." The massive Petra delegate pounded the floor with fists like boulders. "Dangerous primitives must be contained. The galaxy must be protected from human influence." Elena felt the chamber turning against her, but she refused to give up. "Honorable council members, yes, humans have fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes, but we have also learned from them. We have grown beyond our violent past. We offer you proof of our peaceful intentions." "Proof?" Zakth's laugh sounded like breaking glass. "Your very presence here is proof of your danger. You studied our languages not to communicate, but to spy on us. You sent your ships throughout our space not to explore, but to gather intelligence. You are not diplomats, you are scouts for an invasion force. Elena's blood turned cold. How did they know about the reconnaissance missions? How did they know about the intelligence gathering? We see through your lies, humans, the luminary continued. You pretend to seek peace while you prepare for war. Your trade ships carry weapons. Your scientists map our defenses. Your diplomats gather secrets. The younger species began to look frightened. Some moved away from the human delegation. Elena could see her mission falling apart. You are wrong, she said firmly. We came here in peace, seeking friendship among the stars. Yes, we have been careful. Yes, we have prepared for different possibilities. But we want peace, not war. Liar, Zakth hissed. The hegemony has made its decision. Not only will humans be denied membership in the Galactic Council, but you, Ambassador Vasquez, are sentenced to death for the crime of contamination. The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered, others protested. Elena stood frozen as the words hit her. Death? Captain Chen stepped forward, her hand moving to her weapon. You can't execute a diplomatic envoy. That violates every rule of civilized behavior. Rules that apply to civilized species, the Petra rumbled. Humans are not civilized. They are a plague that must be stopped before it spreads. Elena raised her hand to stop Captain Chen from drawing her weapon. Even now, even facing death, she had to try diplomacy. If you do this, she said quietly, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent chamber, you will prove that you are no better than you claim we are. You will show the galaxy that the hegemony rules through fear and murder, not justice and wisdom. The contamination source must be eliminated, Zakth declared. It is decided. The execution will be broadcast to your homeworld as a warning. No other humans must ever leave their system. Guards moved toward Elena. She did not resist. Instead, she looked directly at the camera that would carry her final message back to Earth. Tell them we tried diplomacy first, she said calmly. Remember that when you judge what comes next. As the guards led her away, Elena felt strangely peaceful. She had known this might happen. They all had. Earth had prepared for this possibility. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you murdered Earth's children. The hegemony thought they had eliminated a threat. They had just created one. The execution chamber was cold and white. Elena Vasquez knelt on a metal platform while alien cameras recorded every moment. She wore the same blue uniform she had worn to address the council, but now it would become her funeral dress. Any last words, human? Zakth asked from behind a protective shield. Elena looked directly into the camera that would broadcast her death across human space. Her voice was steady and clear. Tell them we tried diplomacy first. Tell them we came in peace. And tell them to remember that when they see what comes next. The energy beam lasted only a second. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, Earth's first envoy to the galaxy, died with dignity while billions of aliens watched. On Earth, President Sarah Chen sat in the underground command center in Geneva. She had watched Elena die 3 times already, but the recording still made her sick. Around the table sat the most powerful people in human space: generals, scientists, intelligence chiefs, and political leaders. How many people saw it? President Chen asked. 8 billion humans watched it live, replied General Morrison, head of Earth's military forces. The aliens made sure every human settlement got the broadcast. They wanted to scare us into staying in our solar system. Did it work? Asked Dr. Park, the head scientist of the secret Prometheus project. President Chen looked around the table. She saw anger in every face, but not fear. What do you think, Doctor? Military recruitment is up 400%, General Morrison reported. Every space dock is working triple shifts. The lunar factories haven't stopped production in 72 hours. The public response has been intense, added Intelligence Director Vale. Street protests demanding action. Volunteers forming private militias. Scientists offering to work for free on any project that helps fight the aliens. Dr. Park opened his briefcase and pulled out a data tablet. The council made a mistake. They think they just eliminated a threat. They have no idea what they've actually done. President Chen leaned forward. Explain. For 50 years, every human who met an alien was gathering intelligence. Every diplomat, every scientist, every trade representative, they were all working for us. We know everything about the major alien species, their technology, their military capabilities, their political structures, their weaknesses. We've been spying on them, asked Foreign Minister Torres. We've been preparing, General Morrison corrected. Elena wasn't just an ambassador. She was our final intelligence asset. Her mission was to test their intentions. Now we know exactly where they stand. Dr. Park activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. While they shared basic technology with us, we've been reverse engineering everything we could get our hands on. Human science doesn't just copy, we improve. The display showed technical readouts that made several council members whistle in amazement. Our computer systems are 3 generations ahead of theirs. Our weapons technology is more advanced. Our ships are faster and more maneuverable. How is that possible? President Chen asked. They've been spacefaring for millions of years. That's exactly the problem, Dr. Park explained. They're old, set in their ways. They haven't had to innovate or fight real wars in thousands of years. They grew comfortable with their superiority. General Morrison stood and walked to a wall display. With a touch, it showed images of human ships throughout the galaxy. Every peaceful exploration vessel we sent out was actually a military scout. Every research station we built was a weapons platform. Every cultural exchange program was cover for infiltrating their computer networks. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you telling me, President Chen said slowly, that we've been preparing for war this entire time? We've been preparing for every possibility, General Morrison replied. We hoped for peace, but we planned for war. The aliens just made our choice for us. Intelligence Director Vale added, our deep cover agents have been in place for decades. Scientists, technicians, even some low-level government workers. They've been mapping every major installation, every defense system, every government center. Dr. Park brought up another display showing weapon designs. Project Prometheus has been developing weapons the aliens have never seen. Stealth technology that makes our ships invisible to their sensors. AI-guided missiles that can think and adapt. Boarding pods that can phase through their shields. What about their numbers? Asked Foreign Minister Torres. They have thousands of planets and millions of ships. Numbers don't matter if your enemy can't hit you, General Morrison replied. Our war simulations show that a single human dreadnought can take on 10 of their largest ships and win. President Chen stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Geneva, but she knew that across the planet humans were preparing for war. They wanted to see our violent nature, she said quietly. She turned back to the council. Elena died trying to prevent this war. She believed we could find a peaceful solution. They murdered her for trying. What are your orders, Madam President? General Morrison asked. President Chen looked at each person in the room. These were good people who had spent their lives trying to build a better world. Now they would have to help her tear down another one. The aliens think they know what humans are capable of. They think we're primitive barbarians who fight with clubs and stones. They're about to learn the difference between savagery and warfare. She walked back to the table and placed her hand on the activation. Switch for Operation Prometheus. Send a message to all human forces throughout the galaxy. Tell them Elena Vasquez is dead. Tell them the galaxy has rejected us. Tell them it's time to show these ancient species what happens when Earth's children are threatened. The switch clicked under her hand. Launch Prometheus. Show them our violent nature. Across human space, hidden weapons platforms came online. Stealth ships dropped their disguises. Deep cover agents received their activation codes. The human war machine that had been 50 years in the making finally awakened. The aliens had wanted to see humanity's true face. They were about to get their wish. In the depths of space, automated human vessels that had been disguised as asteroids and debris for years suddenly came to life. Their fusion reactors ignited, their weapon systems armed, their targeting computers locked onto alien installations. The galaxy was about to learn what total war looked like when waged by a species that had been planning it for half a century. Elena Vasquez had been Earth's final attempt at peace. Now came the storm. The attack began in silence. Across 50 star systems, objects that had looked like asteroids for years suddenly revealed their true nature. Automated human weapons platforms, disguised and waiting, activated their systems and began targeting alien installations. On Nexus Prime, High Arbiter Zacht was meeting with the other hegemony leaders when the first explosions lit up the sky. What is happening? He demanded. His aide, a nervous Vorthak technician, checked the sensor readings. Sir, we're detecting multiple energy signatures. Unknown vessels are attacking our orbital defense platforms. Impossible, the Luminary representative said, its glow flickering with concern. Our sensors show nothing. That was when the human stealth ships dropped their invisibility fields. The TSS Retribution emerged from the shadow of Nexus Prime's moon like a metal predator. It was 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and completely invisible to alien sensors until it chose to be seen. Admiral Lisa Morrison stood on its bridge, watching the alien fleet scramble to respond. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," she broadcast to the human fleet. "Elena Vasquez died trying to make peace with these creatures. Today we show them the price of murdering our people." The human fleet was smaller than the Galactic Council's forces, but it moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Human ships danced through space, their AI-assisted navigation allowing impossible maneuvers. They spun and rolled and twisted while the massive alien vessels turned slowly like ancient battleships. "Target their command ships first," Morrison ordered. "Show them what human engineering can do." The battle was beautiful and terrible. Human fusion torpedoes streaked across space like falling stars. Each one was guided by an artificial intelligence smarter than most alien species. When the Council ships tried to shoot them down, the torpedoes split into smaller warheads that danced around the defensive fire. The first Vorthak dreadnought died in a ball of nuclear fire. Its shields, designed to stop the massive energy beams that aliens used, were useless against weapons that existed in multiple dimensions at once. "Impossible," Zakth screamed from the Council chamber. "No species can build weapons like that." The Luminary fleet tried to use their speed advantage, but human ships moved even faster. Captain Sarah Chen, piloting the TSS Vengeance, led a squadron of human fighters through a formation of energy beings. Her ships fired smart missiles that adjusted their course mid-flight, chasing the Luminary even as they tried to escape. "This is for Elena," she whispered, as her weapons found their targets. The Petra tried to use their massive size to ram the human ships, but they found that humans had prepared for that too. When the living mountain called Grimrock charged the TSS Defiance, the human ship simply phased out of normal space and reappeared, behind the giant alien. "Surprise?" said the Defiance's captain as he fired point-blank into Grimrock's back. The battle around Nexus Prime lasted 4 hours. When it ended, half the Galactic Council fleet was destroyed and the rest was trapped in system by human gravity mines that prevented faster-than-light travel. But the real shock came from across the galaxy. "Sir, the Vorthak," technician reported to Zakth. "We're receiving reports from every major system. Simultaneous attacks on military bases, government centers, and industrial facilities. The humans had been planning this for 50 years. Every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, every trade agreement had been cover for the largest intelligence operation in galactic history." On the Vorthak homeworld, Dr. Marcus Webb emerged from the alien research facility, where he had been studying their technology for 5 years. Behind him came a team of human commandos who had been posing as his research assistants. "Sorry, friends," Webb said to his former alien colleagues as his team planted explosives throughout the facility, "but we weren't here to learn from you. We were here to learn about you." The Vorthak hive mind coordination system, their greatest military advantage, crumbled under coordinated electronic attacks. Human computer viruses, designed specifically to target insectoid neural networks, turned their organized fleets into confused swarms of individual ships. On Lumina, the crystal world of the energy beings, human agents activated devices that created electromagnetic chaos. The Luminari, who communicated through light patterns, found themselves unable to coordinate their defense. The Petra worlds faced a different kind of attack. Humans had studied their livingstone biology and developed sonic weapons that could shatter their molecular bonds. Ancient beings who had survived for millions of years cracked and fell apart under frequencies they had never imagined. Within 1 week, the 3 most powerful species in the galaxy were crippled. The younger alien species watched in amazement and terror. The Kethler, who looked like giant cats, began sending secret messages to human forces. The Hydrons, aquatic beings who lived underwater, offered to share intelligence about hegemony movements. "How is this possible?" asked Admiral Torvan of the Kethlar fleet. "The humans have been spacefaring for only 50 years. Captain Chen's response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. "You thought we were primitive because we're young. You forgot that young species have to be strong to survive. We didn't have millions of years to grow comfortable. We had to become dangerous." The message that followed went to every alien government. "You executed our ambassador. You declared war on humanity. Now you face the consequences. Surrender now, and we will discuss terms. Continue fighting, and we will show you why Earth breeds survivors. Some species listened. The Zephyrites, beings made of living wind, immediately signed a peace treaty with humanity. The Crystalline Collective offered to share their knowledge in exchange for protection, but the hegemony refused to surrender. Never, Zaxth declared. The Vorthak do not bow to contamination. We will fight until every human is dead. So be it, Admiral Morrison replied. The siege of Vorthak Prime began 3 days later, but instead of bombarding the planet, the humans did something the insects never expected. They deployed biological weapons that disrupted Vorthak pheromone communication. The mighty hive mind that had controlled billions of Vorthak for millions of years suddenly shattered. Individual Vorthak who had never thought for themselves panicked. Some attacked their own kind. Others fled in terror. The greatest military force in the galaxy destroyed itself in confusion. This is impossible, Zaxth repeated as his own soldiers turned on each other. We are the masters of the galaxy. We ruled the stars when humans were still crawling in mud. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on his communication screen. You ruled the galaxy because no one ever challenged you properly. You grew old and slow and weak. We grew up fighting for survival. As Vorthak Prime burned, Morrison delivered her final message. You wanted to see our violent nature. You called us contamination. You were right about one thing. We will contaminate your galaxy. We'll contaminate it with justice, with freedom, and with consequences for those who murder innocents. The last transmission from Zaxth was a single word: impossible. But for humanity, nothing was impossible when their children were threatened. The galaxy was learning that lesson one burning world at a time. 6 months after Elena Vasquez's execution, the galaxy was a very different place. The Vorthak Collective had collapsed completely. Their homeworld was now controlled by independent Vorthak factions, who spent more time fighting each other than fighting humans. The great hive mind that had ruled for millions of years was broken forever. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center of the TSS Retribution, watching reports come in from across human space. The war was going better than anyone had expected, but that didn't make her feel good about it. Status report, she ordered. Captain Chen pulled up a holographic display of the galaxy. Red zones showed active fighting, yellow zones showed human control, and green zones showed allied territory. The Vorthak are finished, Chen reported. Most of their remaining forces have surrendered or joined local governments. The Luminari are holding their core worlds, but they've lost 60% of their territory. The Petra are making a last stand at their fortress world of Granitus. What about the younger species? That's the interesting part, Chen said, highlighting several systems in green. The Kethalar have officially allied with us. The Hydrons are sharing intelligence. The Zephyrites are providing safe harbor for our ships. Even some of the smaller Vorthak groups are asking for human protection. Morrison nodded. This was what made the war different from simple conquest. Humans weren't just destroying the old order. They were building something new. And the other news? Morrison asked. Chen's expression grew serious. Earth's government has approved the next phase. Full psychological warfare against all remaining hegemony forces. Morrison sighed. She had been a soldier her whole life. But this war was unlike anything she had trained for. Humans weren't just better fighters. They understood warfare in ways the aliens never could. On Lumina, the crystal homeworld of the energy beings, Dr. Sarah Park was putting that understanding to work. She stood in what had once been the greatest library in the galaxy, surrounded by millions of years of accumulated knowledge. My offer stands, she announced to the gathered Luminari scholars. Any of you who shares your historical databases with humanity will be given full protection. Your knowledge will be preserved and honored. The Luminari flickered with uncertainty. Their leader, a being called the First Light, glowed brighter with anger. You would steal our heritage, the First Light accused. I would save it, Dr. Park replied calmly. Your government chose war. That choice has consequences, but knowledge should survive, even when governments fall. One by one, the younger Luminari began stepping forward. They chose preservation over politics, wisdom over war. Within hours, humanity had access to the most complete historical records in the galaxy. The First Light watched its people abandon their government. You have corrupted them with fear. I offered them hope, Dr. Park corrected. Your leaders offered them death. But it was the siege of Granitus that showed the galaxy what human warfare really meant. The Petra homeworld was a fortress like nothing humans had ever seen. The entire planet was alive, made of living stone that could reform itself after any attack. Mountains moved to block incoming weapons. Valleys opened up to swallow enemy forces. The surface itself fought back against invaders. General Harrison, leading the ground assault, studied the planet from orbit. Traditional weapons had failed. Energy beams were absorbed by the living rock. Missiles were caught and crushed. Even nuclear weapons only created craters that filled themselves within hours. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Petra are claiming their world is unconquerable. They say they've survived attacks from every major species in the galaxy." Harrison smiled grimly. "That's their problem. They've only faced other aliens." What happened next became a legend throughout the galaxy. Instead of more weapons, the human fleet deployed mining equipment. Giant drills, sonic disruptors, and molecular dissolvers. Tools designed to break apart rock and extract resources. "You want to be a planet of living stone?" Harrison announced to the Petra defenders. "Fine. We're experts at mining stone." The sonic disruptors hit resonant frequencies that shattered the molecular bonds holding the Petra together. Ancient beings who had lived for millions of years suddenly found their bodies cracking and falling apart. When the Petra retreated underground, thinking they would be safe in their deep caverns, the humans followed with converted mining equipment, drills designed to reach the planet's core carved through solid rock. Extraction vehicles pulled Petra from their hiding places. "This is barbaric," broadcast the Petra Emperor, a mountain-sized being called the First Stone. "You fight like animals, with no honor." General Harrison's response echoed across the galaxy. "We fight like humans. We adapt, we overcome, and we win." The siege lasted 2 months. When it ended, the unconquerable fortress world of Granitus was a mining operation run by humans and allied species working together. But the most important victory wasn't military. President Chen's hologram appeared in assembly halls across the galaxy, addressing species that had never heard from a human leader before. "6 months ago, your leaders executed our ambassador for the crime of asking for peace. Today, those same leaders are gone or defeated. But this war was never about conquest." She gestured to images showing humans working alongside former enemies. "Look at the worlds we've captured. Are they slave colonies? Are they ruins? No. They're functioning societies where different species work together as equals." The images showed Vorthak individuals learning to think for themselves for the first time in millions of years. Luminary scholars sharing knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. Young Petra growing up in families instead of being absorbed into the planetary consciousness. "We didn't fight this war to become your rulers," President Chen continued. "We fought it to prove that no one has the right to rule through fear and murder." The response from across the galaxy was immediate. Dozens of species that had been oppressed under hegemony rule came forward with their own stories. The silicoids had been forced to provide slave labor. The tentacled ones had been banned from exploring space. The crystal singers had been forbidden from sharing their music with other species. "You see," President Chen said, "we weren't the only ones who suffered under the old system. We were just the first ones strong enough to fight back." The war was ending not with human victory but with galactic revolution. Species that had been controlled for millennia were learning what freedom meant. Young races that had been kept primitive were gaining access to advanced technology. Admiral Morrison received the final surrender message while orbiting the ruins of the original council chambers. "This is the first light of the remaining luminary. Forces," came the transmission. "We surrender unconditionally. We request terms." Morrison looked out at the stars where human ships flew alongside vessels from dozens of different species. "Terms are simple. No more executions of diplomats. No more threats against peaceful species. No more rule by fear. And what happens to us?" Morrison smiled. "You help us build something better." The galaxy had burned, but from the ashes, something new was growing. Something the universe had never seen before. Something that honored Elena Vasquez's dream of peace, built on the foundation of human strength. 1 year after Elena Vasquez died in the council chambers, Admiral Morrison stood in the same place. But everything had changed. The crystal walls were still there, but now they showed images from across the galaxy. Species working together, former enemies building new worlds, children of different races playing in the same parks. Where once the hegemony had ruled through fear, now representatives from 200 species met as equals. President Chen's hologram appeared before the assembled delegates. Morrison watched as alien beings who had never been allowed to speak in the old council now had voices that mattered. 1 year ago, this chamber saw the execution of Ambassador Elena Vasquez. President Chen began. Today we gather to honor her memory by creating the system she died trying to achieve. A young Vorthak, one of the first individuals ever to think independently, raised a claw. President Chen, humans won this war. Why don't you simply rule us? That is how power has always worked. President Chen smiled sadly. Because that would make us no different from those we defeated. Elena didn't die so humans could become the new hegemony. She died believing that all species could live together in peace. The new galactic compact that President Chen presented was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the strongest species ruling over the weakest, every species got equal representation. Instead of ancient civilizations controlling younger ones, all races had the same rights to grow and explore. But what about military protection? Asked a luminary scholar. Without the hegemony's fleet, who will keep order? Admiral Morrison stepped forward. The Galactic Defense Force will maintain peace, but it won't be controlled by any one species. The holographic display showed the new fleet, human ships flying alongside Kethlar cruisers, Hydron submarines, and even reformed Vorthak vessels, former enemies working together to protect the new order. Humans will provide the military leadership, Morrison continued, but every species will contribute according to their abilities. The Luminari will handle communications, the Petra will provide heavy construction, the Zephyrates will serve as scouts. Together, we'll be stronger than any single species ever was. An elderly, crystalline collective representative sang a question in musical tones. Morrison's translator converted it to words. What prevents humans from becoming tyrants once you grow stronger? President Chen answered personally. The same thing that prevented Elena from lying to save her own life. Human nature isn't just about war and violence. We also believe in justice, fairness, and keeping our promises. She gestured to the memorial wall that now honored Elena Vasquez. Every human child learns about Elena in school. They learn that she chose death over dishonor, that she tried diplomacy even when she knew it might fail. That's the example we follow. The first test of the new system came when the Theta Centauri situation developed. A small species called the moth. People had been discovered by both human and Kethlar explorers. Under the old system, whoever was stronger would have claimed the species as subjects. The moth people waited nervously for their fate instead. Both the humans and Kethlar brought the matter to the new council. We propose joint protection, announced Captain Chen, now serving as humanity's representative. The moth people should choose their own path with support from both our species. The Kethlar delegate agreed. We will share the responsibility and the benefits equally. The moth people delegate, a small being with beautiful wings, could barely believe what she was hearing. You're asking us what we want? That's how it works now, Captain Chen said gently. No one gets to decide your future except you. The success of the Theta Centauri case encouraged other species. The blob creatures from the outer rim, who had hidden from galactic civilization for centuries, finally made contact. The silicon trees, who communicated so slowly that other species had thought they were non-intelligent, were given time to share their ancient wisdom. But the real test came when the survivors of the hegemony tried to stage a comeback. Zakth had survived the fall of the Vorthak collective by hiding in the outer systems. He had gathered the remaining ships and soldiers who still believed in the old ways. Now he returned with a fleet to reclaim what he saw as his rightful place as ruler. The natural order will be restored, he broadcast as his ships approached Nexus Prime. The strong will rule, the weak will serve, and the contamination of human ideas will be cleansed from the galaxy. Admiral Morrison met him with the combined fleet of the Galactic Defense Force. But this time, she wasn't fighting alone. Kethlar ships protected the flanks. Hydron vessels provided underwater combat support. Even some reformed Vorthak fought against their former leader. The Luminari used their energy manipulation to create shields for the entire fleet. The battle was short and decisive. Zakth's outdated ships were no match for the combined technology and tactics of dozens of species working together. Impossible, Zakth transmitted as his ship was captured. The strong must rule. It is the natural way. Morrison's response was broadcast across the galaxy. You're right that the strong should protect others. You just never understood what real strength looks like. As Zack was led away to face trial for war crimes, Morrison continued, Real strength isn't about conquering others. It's about helping them become strong too. The trial itself became another example of the new order. Instead of summary execution, Zack faced a jury of species he had oppressed. They heard evidence, considered testimony, and made their decision based on justice rather than revenge. The sentence was exile to a prison colony where he would spend his remaining years helping to build homes for refugees from his own wars. 5 years after Elena's death, President Chen stood in the completed memorial park on Nexus Prime. Alien children from dozens of species played together while their parents worked on joint research projects. Dr. Park, now head of the Galactic Science Council, approached with her daily report. The terraforming project on Kepler 442b is ahead of schedule. 3 species are working together to make it habitable for the aquatic jellies. Any problems? President Chen asked. The usual debates about methodology, Park replied with a smile. The Petra want to build mountains, the Zephyrite want wind patterns, and the humans want perfect agricultural zones. But they're working it out. President Chen laughed. Sounds like democracy in action. They walked past Elena's memorial, where fresh flowers from a dozen worlds created a rainbow of colors and shapes. The inscription was simple but powerful. She came in peace. We came in war. Together we built justice. A group of young beings approached. A human child walking with a young Vorthak, a small luminary energy being, and a tiny Petra made of polished stone. President Chen, the human child said, We're doing a school project about the old days. Is it true that species used to fight wars just because they were different from each other? President Chen knelt down to look at the children. Yes, that's true. A long time ago, many beings thought that being different meant being enemies. That's silly, said the young Vorthak, who had learned to think for herself. Being different makes everything more interesting. Very silly, agreed the luminary child, flickering with amusement. President Chen stood up, watching the children run off to play together. She remembered Elena's final words. Remember that when you judge what comes next. What came next was this. A galaxy where children of different species played together. Where former enemies worked side by side. Where the strong protected the weak instead of ruling them. Elena Vasquez had died trying to create a peaceful galaxy through diplomacy. Her death had started a war that ended with something even better. A just galaxy where peace was protected by strength, but guided by wisdom. The humans had shown the galaxy their violent nature just as the hegemony had demanded. But they had also shown something the old rulers had never understood. That true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when not to. And in the end, that made all the difference. The galaxy had learned that when pushed to the edge, humans didn't just fight back, they fought forward, toward something better than what came before. Elena would have been proud.